And we're rolling. Hello friends, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Desiree and I make Disney and fitness, health, and wellness content. I know those sound a little bit different, but they're my two passions in life, so just roll with it, okay? Thank you. Alrighty friends, so today I have a super special video for y'all. First, I want to start off by saying thank you so much for all the support that you've shown on my Disney related videos. The fact that over 1,000 people have watched my cast member content and decided that was something that they felt was helpful to them, that made my whole world. So I just want to say thank you so much for supporting that. And if you haven't seen those videos, go check those videos out. Today's video, if you couldn't tell from the title, is going to be all about my experience as a Disney cast member and the tips and tricks I have for you and some information that I have for you if you also are looking into becoming a Disney cast member. I've been a Disney Store cast member in Times Square, New York. I've also been a Disney World cast member as a college program participant in fall of 2019, pre-Panini, and I was a cast member at Disneyland for a few months as well. So I have kind of been all over the place. My experience is primarily in A, retail from the Disney Store, and then B, attractions on both my CP and as a casual regular cast member at Disneyland. If you want to become a Disney cast member, stay tuned, and I have some information that I think you should hear, so stick around, subscribe for that content. Okay. Let's get to it. I just wanted to start off by saying that I do not speak for the brand or the company. All of this information is entirely based on my own experience as a person and as a former cast member. So first, I want to define what a Disney cast member is. A lot of people, when I tell them that I used to be a Disney cast member, ask me how performing in the parades was. I did not do that. So just to get it out of the way for the sake of everyone's confusion, cast members is just what Disney refers to as employees. Since Disney is entertainment and provides an immersive experience for guests and tries to make magic for guests of all ages, it is like putting on a big show. And so Disney does use show and theater terminology. So anything you would find on a set really is kind of the language that Disney uses. When we refer to the park itself, we refer to being on stage because we are part of the show. So that is what I will refer to being an employee as, is cast member, and I refer to customers as guests. As I said before, my experiences have kind of been all over the map. Every role is different and every experience was very different for me. Personally, I was in not so great of a headspace the first couple of times, and truthfully, I don't think I was ever fully in a fantastic headspace every time I was applying for Disney. Part of that has to do with the period of time that I was just really going through it. But even with that, I truly believe that every experience for me has gotten better increasingly over the years, which is something that I feel like is super important to think about. The experience that you get out of being a Disney cast member is really going to be what you make of it. Even if you are going through things, understand that maybe running away to Florida won't fix all your problems, because some of us thought that way and then realized that's not how it works. So do still remember that at the end of the day that you are a human being, and Disney is not and should not be used as a form of escaping your own life. I want you to listen to that again. Thank you. Moving on. Alrighty, I don't know if the lighting's a little different at all. My camera died, so I had to let it charge for a little bit. So let's get into the actual meat of this, the tips and the tricks and all the good stuff. Number one, what kind of person does Disney look for? So what does a good cast member look like? Personally, in my experience and in the way that I think about these things, a good cast member is someone who is kind, who is able to stay calm in stressful situations, someone who is very attentive, especially to small details, because you do want to try to tailor the experience the best that you can to guests, and there's so many different guests, so you do have to be quick with things. Someone who's able to learn quickly, someone who really values guest interaction and guest experiences, and someone who is punctual and able to show up and be there. Those are just things to keep in mind in terms of qualities that Disney is looking for and how well you fit into those different kinds of categories. At the end of the day, you have to understand working for Disney is top tier customer service. You have to be prepared to be able to handle tough situations and keep a calm and positive attitude while you're doing so. Because if you are the type of person that, like if something happens or if someone's giving you attitude and you give it back to them, or you speak out in that way, or you get angry at people easily, then maybe reconsider working for Disney, because you are going to encounter frustrating situations. You are going to have difficult times, and it's not always going to be pixie dust and smiles, But you do have to be able to provide that for people and to understand where they're coming from and be able to empathize with why they might be upset, because I'm sure it's not going to be for absolutely no reason. Everyone is different, and this is such an incredible experience for so many people to be able to come to the parks. And so you really want to think about what kind of trials and tribulations they've had that day, that maybe something didn't go the way that they planned and it set them off. But you have to be able to think about things like that and to make sure that you're not taking it out on them, because that is going to really affect your time there. If, like I said, you're not someone who is able to do that, I definitely would reconsider maybe becoming a cast member, at least in the parks, because it is so front and center. Working in the parks as a cast member is very, very frontline. I don't think that I dealt with as many situations like that at the Disney store, but it also was a high traffic area because Times Square, right? It was also 2 stories, constantly packed, and we were trying to make some sort of a connection with guests within like 60 seconds before parting ways. Number 2, I'd like to get into the application process a little bit. I don't think I've made a full video on the full application process, but I do have an overview, I guess, of different steps in the application process and what those might look like. So once you decide, yes, I am what Disney wants, and you want to apply, fantastic. There's tons of different roles in the parks. My first tip in terms of the application process would really be to do your research. Understand what each of the roles does, and to make sure that you know the type of person you are and what you would view as work that is fulfilling. Some people work in the parks because they want to move up in the company, they want to start managing and do stuff like that within parks and operations, and if you're that type of person, it might not matter as much to you where you start. But if you are looking for a role that feels like a good fit for you, and I do encourage you to find a role that would feel like a good fit for you, then do your research and kind of understand the basics of what each role might do. I mean, there's tons of job descriptions online. You can quickly find them, but I think having an understanding of the roles that you're applying for and the type of person that you are, and cross-comparing those and deciding whether or not this is something that you would actually enjoy doing is going to make or break your experience. For sure. I remember when I was applying for the Disney College program, everyone's big emphasis was, if you don't want to do a role, do not say that you have any interest in it. Just say you have no interest and move along. It does not affect your chances of getting in, but it does affect your experience while you're there. So if there was a role that you absolutely knew you did not want to do, don't pretend like you want to do it. Just say no, because it's really going to make or break your experience, and you don't want to be stuck in a role that you don't enjoy doing. That's the first application process tip. Going into our third overall tip, second application process situation. Once you submit an application, the application process in general is going to consist of the application itself, receiving a web-based interview, scheduling a phone interview, and then receiving an offer. So in terms of your resume, which is going to be my next little tip, you want to make sure that you're putting relevant work down based off of what roles you're applying to. So if you're in the college program, obviously there's a few different roles, so feel free to have a plethora of experience. If you're applying as just a cast member, it's a specific role that you're applying for. So think about what they're looking for in a person. For example, right, I have applied to attractions roles. I did have previous attractions experience when I was trying to apply to an attractions role. However, I actually applied to a merchandise role when I applied for Disneyland. They just happened to have attractions offerings, open, and so they offered me one based on my prior experience. If you are applying for an attractions role straight off the bat, don't worry about not having experience. At the end of the day, attractions is a front-facing role. It's safety critical and it's customer service. So anything that you have experience-wise that backs up that you have experience doing customer service and being safe is going to help you in those types of situations. So really think about your resume, really review the job description because that will give you all the key terms that you should be looking at and using. Once you do that, kind of edit your resume a little to match the terminologies a little bit better to make sure that you have what they're looking for and to really sell yourself. You know, Disney wants you to work for them, so show them why you would be fantastic. So that's resumes. Next tip. Number 4, the web-based interview. Once you submit your application, normally it goes into under review or in consideration, whatnot, and then you'll get a web-based interview sent to you. So a web-based interview is basically a series of questions that you kind of rank I don't know what it is. That you kind of rank questions based off of like strongly agree to strongly disagree. They normally tend to just highlight like different habits. So it's like, I'm always on time, strongly agree to strongly disagree, like things like that. My biggest tip with the web-based interview is to make sure that you are in a place with reliable internet service and in a quiet space away from distractions. The web-based interview is timed and you only have like, I think 20 seconds to answer each question. So really what it's testing is how quickly you can think on your feet and then how high of quality is that thinking. So how well can you do under that pressure and how quickly can you do it? That's really what the web-based interview is testing. So do make sure that you are somewhere that does not have distractions so that you can really focus in on it and make sure that you're serving the quality answers while answering them quickly. Once you finish your web-based interview, if you pass it, you will get to schedule your phone interview immediately. And if you don't, you don't. So it is kind of nerve-wracking. The web-based interview determines a lot, but the questions are pretty straightforward, pretty self-explanatory. And if you are the type of person that Disney is looking for, you should be able to see pretty quickly where each of the questions is kind of headed for you. So, yeah. Once you get your phone interview, you get to schedule it. Really quick note, my Disney store interview was an in-person interview. My DCP interview was a phone interview, and then my Disneyland interview was a Zoom interview. So understand that there might be different modes of interviewing based on where you're applying, when you're applying, what you're applying for, X, Y, Z. So just keep that in mind. My best advice for the phone interview section, be yourself. Show Disney your inner cast members. Show them what you can do, who you can be. Remember to breathe, because that is going to be obvious if you're not like breathing. Try not to be super stiff, like you want to be a little bit more relaxed. I definitely recommend being somewhere with reliable service if you're doing a phone or reliable internet connection if you're doing it via Zoom. Again, free from distractions. If it is via Zoom, do remember to dress professionally. You're still doing an interview even though it's on Zoom. Make sure that you're doing that. If you do makeup, I wouldn't suggest anything super heavy. Disney does rely on the Disney look. When I did my Disneyland interview, I did dress in Disney look just to kind of put my best foot forward, and I was chosen to be a cast member again, so something had to go right. What I have on right now is probably like right on the border. I think when I do eyeliner, yeah, it definitely wouldn't be any thicker than this. I probably would do it a little bit thinner than this, but this is pretty much it. Obviously this is not, and my nose piercing in here is not either. So just keep that in mind, friends. Do your research. Like I said, if you know what Disney look is, then that kind of gives you a leg up if you understand what they're looking for in terms of a look. Also be aware that they do ask about Disney look and whether you're willing to comply to it. Normally during the interview, they will ask about tattoos and where those are, except I think that they only did that on the college program, because now we're kind of able to have them out as long as they can be like covered by a hand, which mine can for right now. These technically were fine when I was working, which was super weird to me. Super weird to me because I had to wear compression sleeves on my college program. Yay for Disney look being edited. We love to see it. That inclusivity key really just brought her in. A couple other tips in terms of the phone interview. Just be sure that you've kind of researched a little bit. There are a few questions that come up almost every time. Some of those may include, tell us about a time that you had to handle a difficult situation. That can be work related. It probably should be work related just to kind of show how you can handle things in the workplace. They might ask about if you've ever had like conflicts with someone, how would you resolve that? They just want to be able to see like who you are, what you can do, what you can bring to the table in terms of being able to manage those difficult situations, as I've said before. I like to write a little sticky note of the interviewer's name, and then I also put a sticky on my computer before my Zoom interview to smile, because I felt like that helped remind me that, you shouldn't look like you're in pain while you're doing one of those interviews. You should feel comfortable and able to talk and happy. In terms of parks specifically, what I did not know about Disneyland is that you are landlocked. Park locked and landlocked. So when I accepted my position as an attractions cast member, I accepted it for Disneyland in Fantasyland. If I up and said one day, I don't want to work in Disneyland anymore, I want to work in DCA, I would lose all status, and I think I would have to reapply or something, but it's a completely separate entity. In terms of within, like if I wanted to go from Fantasyland to Tomorrowland, I would have to transfer, but then I would also lose my seniority completely within that park as well. So just keep that in mind. Disney World is not like that. Disney World, you are able to go to other parks and other lands. It is not that big of a deal. If you have proficiencies in a place, you can get scheduled there and you can pick up shifts there. So if you're choosing between the two, maybe if you're like, I don't know if I want to work in Disneyland or Disney World, keep that in mind. Maybe that would affect your decision. I have a lot of friends in Disney World, especially friends who work merchandise, that can kind of pick up wherever they want to, like different parks, different locations, different resorts, like anything. Disneyland is not the same. So number 6, I know that was really long, but number 6. Once you become a cast member, you will have a decently long onboarding process. It is very immediate from the time that you're offered to your orientation day, which is also known as traditions. It is a fast turnaround. When I was offered my position, I told them I had already had like a vacation plan before that because I was already going to the East Coast in like a couple days at that point. So I was like, I'm going to be gone for 2 weeks. Can I start after that? And so I scheduled my traditions for after when I got back. And then from traditions, I received my training itinerary at traditions, and I was literally supposed to start training that week. So if you are someone who has to put in 2 weeks at work, if you're like switching jobs or something, just keep that in mind. It's a very quick turnaround. You will be needed very immediately, and you will have your training schedule. And once that training schedule is out, it is not really changing. So just keep that in mind. It's super important. Think about when you want to have your traditions. Think about when you'll be available. From then on, if you have any prior things, let them know up front. It won't affect things, but they do need to know so that they can create that schedule in the best way possible. Also, if you want to know more about the onboarding process, I do have a video from when I was going through Disneyland onboarding. I do believe I vaguely go over it on my college program. Both of those videos are here. I can link them in the section below. Go check out those videos. If you have more questions about that, feel free to ask me. So once you earn your ears, you're officially a cast member. Congratulations. Know that Disney is a very concentrated customer service job. At the end of the day, you will have days where you feel drained. If you love Disney, and if you love making magic, and if you love your role, then it will feel worth it. So please, please, please pay attention to what you're applying for. It can be a taxing job. It can feel rewarding. It is what you make of it. And if you have goals in mind, that's going to help a lot more. So just remember that. Another tip, so number 8, Before you apply, please make sure that this is the kind of job that is reasonable for you, for your lifestyle, and that you'll be able to live well with it. Know that you might not have a consistent schedule, and Disney does have a point system that makes being late and calling out kind of difficult to do. So if you are someone who does get sick a lot, make sure that you are able to get doctor's notes and make sure you're very clear from the beginning about your availability. I did try to work more than one job while I was at Disney. That did not work out for me. So just make sure that you're understanding the terms of the job and what you're signing up for before you sign up for it, for sure. Number 9, so Disney wants you to succeed. Try to work with them, and it'll be great. That's probably the best advice that I can give you is if something comes up, if you need to go away, like you need to go home for something, you have a personal issue, anything like that, just talk to them, communicate with them, ask for help, be very open with them. They want you to do well. Disney wants you to be a cast member. Just work with them and it'll all be good. Alrighty, friends, I hope this video helps, and I hope that you follow your dreams and see them through. If you have any other questions, please ask me. I'm here. I do this. I work and I go to school, so I will maybe sometimes have a minor delay, but if you have any questions, feel free to DM me on my Instagram. Feel free to drop them in the comment section below. If you have any suggestions for videos, anything you want me to talk about, since I do have all this experience and it's just all sitting in my brain, I am happy to share any sort of knowledge that I can and any other kinds of tips or experiences and stuff like that. Be sure to give this video a big thumbs up and make sure to subscribe. Make sure you are in the know on my Disney content train, and I'm so happy that you're here. So until next time, my friends, bye. Personally, I have been a Disney story task